Carl Jung, a prominent psychiatrist alongside Sigmund Freud and Alfred Adler, has greatly influenced the field of psychology. Despite receiving accolades from Freud, Jung established his own school of psychology called analytical psychology. His philosophy is commonly known as Jungian philosophy. Jung's contributions to psychology include introducing terms like introvert and extrovert, exploring archetypes within the psyche, and defining the boundary between the conscious and unconscious. Consciousness encompasses our self-awareness, while the unconscious comprises aspects beyond our awareness. Jung identified the ego and the persona as parts of consciousness, and the shadow and the animus and anima as components of the unconscious. Confronting the shadow, which represents disliked aspects of ourselves, can be challenging and often leads to denial. However, neglecting the shadow can greatly affect self-esteem. To gain genuine self-control and understanding, it is crucial to face and embrace the shadow. In this video, we will guide you through 3 essential steps of shadow work based on Carl Jung's philosophy, enabling you to truly own yourself. Step 1. Accept your shadow. Jung warned that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Once we have confronted our shadow and acknowledged its presence, the next crucial step is accepting it. While we may become aware of our shortcomings and insecurities, embracing them as integral parts of ourselves can be challenging. When we come face to face with aspects we dislike, our natural inclination is to seek quick fixes. For instance, if we struggle with laziness, we might try to stay constantly busy. If we feel insecure about our voice, we may speak excessively or avoid speaking altogether. However, this perpetuates denial and repression. True self-ownership requires accepting ourselves as we are. Of course, this is easier said than done. Accepting undesirable traits can make us feel like bad people and shatter our self-image. Jung acknowledges this fear, noting that it is a frightening thought that man might have a shadow side. The temptation to discard and erase the metaphorical advertisement of our shadow can be strong. Yet if we truly seek personal growth, we must carry it with us. The shadow becomes terrifying when left unacknowledged, but acceptance keeps it in check, allowing us to find inner balance. Though temporarily intensifying insecurity, acceptance is a transformative step towards self-control. To begin, we should examine why we felt the need to hide our shadow. Who taught us to conceal these traits? What made us believe that revealing them would lead to rejection? Understanding the origins of these beliefs facilitates self-acceptance. For instance, if greediness resides in our shadow, childhood experiences may have shaped our inclination to protect our possessions. Recognizing these influences helps us comprehend ourselves better. It's important to recognize that everyone possesses a shadow side, and embracing it doesn't make us inherently bad. All humans are complex, multifaceted beings. Suppression and extreme countermeasures stem from insecurity. To let our positive traits shine, we must acknowledge our shadow traits repeatedly. We need to voice them, face ourselves in the mirror, and affirm, "This is me." Gradually, we realize that these traits are not as monstrous as we believed. Step 2. Embrace your shadow. As Jung put it, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. In this stage, we confront the question, who am I really? It's one thing to become aware of the undesirable traits we've suppressed, but accepting their existence is another challenge. Often, when we discover aspects of ourselves that we don't appreciate, we immediately seek solutions. If we tend to be lazy, we try to stay constantly busy. If we feel insecure about our voice, we either talk excessively to distract ourselves or remain silent to avoid facing it. If we're sensitive, we hide our emotions. However, this approach only pushes these traits back down, leading us to deny our shadow once again. To truly own ourselves, we must accept that we have certain inclinations and traits without immediately wanting to change them. Complete self-acceptance means embracing who we truly are. Of course, accepting undesirable traits as our own can make us feel like bad people. It can shake the image we had of ourselves, and that can be scary. Jung acknowledges this fear, stating, "It is a frightening thought that man might have a shadow side to himself." Imagine looking at the advertisement you created, acknowledging that it represents you. You might be tempted to crumple it up, throw it away, burn it, never see it again. But if you genuinely want to change, you must carry it with you. The truth is that the shadow is only terrifying when it remains unacknowledged and unaccepted, because that's when it becomes uncontrollable. Acceptance is the key to keeping it under control and finding your balance. Initially, accepting it might make you feel more insecure, but this is temporary. It's just a small step in a transformative process that ultimately empowers you to gain control over yourself like never before. A significant first step towards acceptance is understanding why we felt the need to hide our shadow traits in the first place. Who taught us to hide them? Our parents? Classmates? The influence of the internet? Why do we believe that revealing these traits would make us less likable or lovable? How true is it that people would dislike us for displaying these traits? Let's imagine that greediness is part of our shadow. Perhaps our parents consistently reacted with anger when we didn't share or took away our possessions as punishment. This upbringing could have instilled a sense that we must fiercely protect our money and belongings, while also feeling it's wrong to do so. Understanding the origins of these beliefs helps us gain better self-understanding and facilitates self-acceptance. It is crucial to recognize that everyone has a shadow side, and it doesn't make us bad people. It simply makes us human, as humans are complex beings with multiple facets. Moreover, accepting our shadow brings inner balance to our lives. If we suppress greediness but become excessively generous to counter it, our generosity loses its value because it lacks authenticity. The same goes for any other negative trait we try to counter. Such efforts are often fueled by insecurity. For instance, forcing ourselves to be overly generous might lead to a subtle bitterness towards giving, and a subsequent guilt that leaves us self-conscious. We may even feel like we're playing a role, believing that our true self is inadequate. All these consequences harm our confidence. To let our good traits shine, we must acknowledge our dark side repeatedly. We need to speak these traits aloud, look at ourselves in the mirror and say, "This is me." Slowly we'll come to realize that these traits are not as terrible as we initially thought. Step 3. Integrate your shadow. Jung stated, "If a person wants to be cured, it is necessary to find a way in which his conscious personality and his shadow can live together." After encountering and accepting our shadow, the most important question arises: how can I change for the better? Embracing our shadow offers a hidden wisdom that resides within every aspect of ourselves, even the ones we perceive as negative. This means that for every acknowledged and accepted shadow trait, we can harness its power for personal growth. Merely encountering and accepting the shadow is not enough. We must actively integrate it into our behavior and lives. It's like facing a dragon as a knight. Entering the battle is not sufficient. We must overcome it. The key is not passive acceptance, but active transformation. For instance, if we discover greediness in our shadow, we shouldn't resign ourselves to being greedy and avoid changing. That would only reinforce feelings of being a bad or inadequate person. The goal is to utilize our shadow traits for personal growth. Acceptance is a gateway to the next step, integration. Our shadow is here to teach us about ourselves, our behavior, and our potential for growth. Now is the time to analyze the behaviors resulting from these shadow traits. How have we acted due to undesirable inclinations? How else could we behave? Reflecting on these questions and engaging in introspection, journaling, or discussions with others helps us explore alternative actions and perspectives. Our shadow invites us to ponder our behavior and learn from it. To integrate our shadow, we need to discern the positive behaviors that can arise from these bad traits. This reflection allows us to authentically manifest our true selves in our actions. By finding a balance, avoiding extremes, and considering our shadow traits, we can develop behaviors that reflect our inner self more genuinely. For example, if our shadow reveals greediness, we can evaluate what actions stem from this trait. Are we overly protective of our possessions? Are we hesitant to be generous? Through analysis, we can differentiate between healthy self-preservation and excessive greed. We can learn to be more generous with things that don't hold significant value to us while preserving what truly matters. This balance arises from confronting our shadow traits and integrating them into our lives. Similarly, if fear has controlled our lives, we can use it as an opportunity for courage. Rather than allowing fear to dictate our actions, we can develop the strength to face our fears and act with bravery. The beauty of bad traits is that they offer us self-awareness and the potential for growth. Our shadow is an invaluable tool if we allow it to guide us. By integrating our shadow, we render ourselves immune to judgment. When we have already examined and addressed our shadow traits, no one can criticize us for them. We eliminate the fear of being called out as greedy, cowardly, or anything else, because we have confronted and transformed those aspects within ourselves. The result is a profound sense of self-assurance. Integrating our shadow not only fosters confidence, freedom, and happiness, but also grants us complete certainty about who we are and how we behave.